From Sydney to Hong Kong, Manchester City drawing 1-1 with Inter, losing 3-1 on penalties, but a good workout. I want to have a quick look at the Manchester City lineup. Obviously, a lot of big names are still not here, but the key thing here, Stevie, Phil Foden starting in the 10 position, given the captain's armband. He's got a huge opportunity. Do you think he will take it and become a mainstay of Enzo Maresca's starting 11?
Well, if I was using your money, I'm not quite sure he can, to be honest with you. I mean, why do we all of a sudden think just because we've changed the manager, Phil Foden's going to change the way he plays? Maybe it'll depend on how Maresca plays. I mean, the first thing that struck me when I saw this game was Mubama, and I'm thinking, this guy doesn't look like a pep player, but it's Maresca now. You know, they were playing a lot of balls from the middle of the park and playing off him. That's something they just don't do and certainly didn't do. Now, if that's going to be the case and they're going to get the ball forward quicker, then 100% that means Phil Foden is going to get back in tune. He's going to see a lot more of the ball if he's playing in that 10 position. And so there's a good chance that he will get his form back. But until we figure out how they're going to go about it, if they're going to go back to sideways and slowly getting forward, then all that does is kill Phil Foden. Because that means he gets the ball when everybody's back in position defensively. He's got less time, less options. So, yeah, I think right now you cannot put your hand on your heart and say, oh, Phil Foden's going to be back to the guy he was 2 years ago. I don't think you can. Again, I was talking about Solanke lying in his bed wondering what's going to happen. You can bet your bottom dollar that Phil Foden's going to wonder. And I don't mean in terms of leaving the club. I'm just thinking about, is he going to start and how is his season going to go? He absolutely will be trying to figure out how he can get back to his best.
The goal scorer in this one for Manchester City, and it'll be the quiz question in years to come, the first ever goal scorer of Enzo Maresca's regime as Manchester City's manager, was Divine Mubama. Talented forward, spent last season on loan at Stoke, was going all right until he suffered a serious leg injury in January. As far as the striking department is concerned at Manchester City, Rob, you can't start and play Erling Haaland every single game. What do you feel as far as Manchester City's options outside of Haaland are concerned in attack are like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very difficult situation for any striker at City. And we saw with Julian Alvarez that he was number 2 behind Erling Haaland under Pep, got fed up that he just wasn't playing enough and ended up deciding he wanted to go to Atletico Madrid, and City would have loved to keep him, but knew that they couldn't because Haaland is just going to play every week. It makes it difficult to bring in a second centre forward because they just know that they're going to be second choice. We've had a similar situation with Omar Marmoush, who came in January 2 seasons ago, and so he hasn't really played, and when he has played, he's had to play out wide. He's played a couple of games when Erling Haaland wasn't ready in an FA Cup game at Newcastle last season, where he did particularly well and scored. But the opportunities aren't there, so you have to look for other ways to replace Haaland when he doesn't play. I mean, there is a suggestion that Phil Foden could play in as a sort of false 9. Ryan Shirky could do that job if he was asked to do it. I think the expectation, though, at City is that Erling Haaland is going to play every game that they want him to. I mean, he has had bits of injury problems over the last couple of years at City. Certainly had a few at Borussia Dortmund. City have managed to manage that with Haaland a little bit better. But there was a stage last season where in the March international break that Norway decided that he just couldn't play 2 games in the March international break and gave him a week's holiday because they felt that he was exhausted. So Enzo Maresca and City are going to have to be careful of that. I think what you'll find is that they'll keep Haaland ready for the big games when they know that they need him, and maybe find a different way to play in some of the other games when he's maybe rested or left on the bench. I mean, Semenyo could possibly play there. He played out wide today, did very, very well, but he could play centrally. I very much doubt that they're going to bring in another centre forward to sit behind Haaland, because it's just ultimately it's a waste of money. You've already got Omar Marmoush there who can do the job. You've got Phil Foden, who can play as a false nine, Semenyo, who can do that job. You've got a couple of other young kids who could possibly come in for the FA Cup games. It's just a thankless job to be number 2 behind Erling Haaland because he's so good.
Manchester United continued their Scandinavian tour. They were off to Stockholm to face Atletico Madrid, winning by 2-1. A couple of goals from Brian and Mbeumo. Stevie, this is the lineup selected by Michael Carrick. As far as some of these players are concerned, look, they will be backups. However, when you look at Mbeumo getting a couple of goals, not playing at the World Cup, the chances for those that haven't been to the World Cup with their country, either because they didn't qualify or because they weren't picked, like João Pedro at Chelsea, how big an opportunity is that for players like Mbeumo to hit the ground running while others are playing catch-up with their fitness?
100%. I mean, Mbeumo probably was going to be playing anyway, but at the same time, there's no question anybody who wasn't at the World Cup and all the major sides will probably, unless they're injured or really bad in the pre-season, are going to 100% get an opportunity. And we talk about it all the time, and it really is the truth. When you get an opportunity, particularly at the big clubs where there is a lot of competition, then you have to take it. And if you don't take it, then you really can't look anywhere else other than in the mirror and look at yourself. So, yeah, I think because of the World Cup, for people like Mason Mount, probably more than Mbeumo, this is an important pre-season and important to push your way into the starting 11 for the first game of the season. And then once you do that, it's up to you to keep yourself there. So, yeah, I mean, around all the big sides in particular, there is 100% going to be a lot of players thinking this is an opportunity for me, while the so-called big boys are not quite 100% fit.
Rob, what kind of impact are you expecting from André Santos at United?
Well, United are going to hope that it's massive because as we sit here talking right now, he's their main midfield signing. I think a lot of fans would have hoped by now that they maybe brought in someone a bit of a more of a marquee signing, someone like Elliot Anderson or Sandro.
Can I interrupt you, Rob? I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of them. What does André Santos do best? Because I don't know. Can you enlighten me? I don't know what he does best. I don't understand why Manchester United signed him. Really, I don't.
Well, I think they've felt there that they've found value in the market. They've looked at some of the other options. They were shocked at Mateus Fernandes going from West Ham to Tottenham for 85 million. That just wasn't what they budgeted when they decided that he was going to be a target. Same with Elliot Anderson. They budgeted around sort of 85, 90 million for him. He's gone for 116 million. I think when they looked at André Santos, the fact that he's still a very, very young player, someone that they think and hope that Michael Carrick can develop. He's got Premier League experience, albeit not very much at Chelsea. I think he started or played 11 games last season, but he has got experience of the league. They felt that at 50 million, 48 million plus 2 million in add-ons, that offered more value in the market than someone like Tonali for 100 million or Elliot Anderson for 116. I think a lot of fans are going to hope that André Santos maybe isn't needed to play week in, week out. And don't forget, last season, they played 1 game a week. This year, it's going to be 3 because they've got Champions League football. I still think Man United fans are hopeful that United are going to bring in a third midfielder behind Santos and Youri Tielemans to kind of be that anchor in the whole thing. Now, who that is really is anyone's guess. That there's been talk of Angelo Stiller, who plays in Germany, that the options are quite limited. So it's the reason lots of United fans are quite frustrated because they knew that there was going to be a midfield overhaul this summer. I think they just thought that there was going to be a bigger name arriving. Right now, I can understand why they're feeling a little bit underwhelmed. From United's point, they will say, well, there's still 5 weeks of the transfer window to go and kind of judge the window after the deadline and not before. But I think going back to your original question, Mark, I think United are hopeful that André Santos is going to turn into an £100 million player that they've signed for 50 because they just didn't see value in the market elsewhere.
Yeah, didn't want to overspend.
Yeah.
September the 1st is when the transfer window closes. And as usual, we'll probably see quite a few players changing clubs in the final week of that window.